Dredge is a third-person fishing game with horror elements, where you play as a lone fisherman trying to make a living and finding cursed items for a mysterious antiquarian. The game is available on PlayStation, PC, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and also your phone. Atmosphere. Whilst fundamentally a simple game about fishing, Dredge has a lot of dark undertones. One of the first things you're told is not to be out at sea after the sun goes down, and whether you decide to heed this warning or not, this adds time pressure to the day, as the clock rapidly ticks your precious daylight hours away. The small boat you start off with is both fragile and slow, and straying too far away from the docks gives an uneasy feeling, like you're vulnerable. Open oceans, even during the day, have a feeling of being vast and incomprehensible. You're a small fish in a big sea. Even when your ship is upgraded, sailing the open sea has a sense of grandeur, but also this feeling that malice is lurking just below the surface. Things like the relaxing but somewhat troubled piano music of the opening areas convince you that despite Dredge's disarming appearances, something is wrong. The game has a lot of management to make things almost tactical, with equipment and storage management being strong limitations on what you can and can't do before you leave on your voyage, making sure you've got the right fishing rods and enough storage to hold all the things that you want. But the game's main management feature is time management, as everything requires time that causes daylight to slowly slip through your fingers. The fishing itself has odd twists on certain parts of it to twinge the mundane with the fantastical. Some of the fish you catch arrive with unique aberrations. Fish of many eyes or many mouths, fish constructed of stone or ones that are psychic, find their way into your net for you to sell. These waters are not normal, and every new one gives you a reason to pause and check what you found with an odd sense of mystery and wonder. Where the atmosphere reaches its zenith, though, is when the sun goes down. The atmosphere changes rapidly, the time pressure mounts, and the hallucinations that come with your deteriorating sanity really push you into paranoia. Not all of the threats lurk below, and it almost causes a panic as you try and make it back to the dock before you're taken to the depths. But it's things like the upgrade paths, the promise of more equipment, staying out just a little bit longer to fish a little bit more, or dredging more materials. You did this to yourself, you're paying for your own mistakes. Dredge's atmosphere is mostly in the unassuming, but it's a constant, uneasy vibe that lurks under the whole game. That's one Harry Mason. Scares. The game doesn't really try to frighten the player very much until the sun goes down. The only thing you can argue is an attempt to frighten the player during the day being the limited hull health and navigating tight spaces. Or, as the game goes on, the more aggressive monster-grade fish of the later game. But most of these are difficulty related and arguably scary. When the daylight fades, the nighttime hallucinations blur the line between the real horrors that lurk below and your weary mind magicking up its own. A tornado of weird smoke flies towards you in the darkness. You suddenly can't see rocks as well, and you might plunge into them. Other boats appear and try to ram you, but what really goes the hardest are the colossal fish that can appear to chase your tiny boat until you find somewhere to stay the night, and encountering them is about as frightening as the game gets. Dredge is not a scary game, and the times when it is frightening are very few and far between, but it really does have its moments now and then. That's still one Harry Mason. Sound design. The dedication to the recreation of ocean sounds is beyond commendable, with fishing the deep water sounding delightfully realistic. Bubbles float up from the depths, the rain and the waves clash gently together, and the seagulls squawk in the distance. Sound effects like the dredging winch are really satisfying, and it's hard to find a sound effect in the game that isn't captured and treated with the utmost realism and care. The game's soundtrack is the same, with its pieces varying per area, with some really somber piano to represent the opening area and more desperate string and flute parts colour other sections of the game. It's full of mystery and unease. There's no voice acting, and the directional audio works really well with all the other sound effects that are constantly making the game feel more immersive. Even the little piano jingles you hear when you pick up another aberration feel tailor-made to giving you a feeling of uncertainty. Overall, the sound design is brilliant. That's 2 Harry Masons. Gore. There's no gore in the game, and it didn't really seem like it would have benefited from any. That's 3 Harry Masons. Story. Dredge follows an unnamed fisherman as they sail to Greater Marrow, where they are seeking employment, when a disaster strikes as their boat gets caught on the rocks. After awakening, the mayor greets them to tell them that their ship has been repaired at his cost and you must make that money back by fishing. Even though you know something is wrong immediately from the way the game feels, the story reveals many of its hidden secrets very slowly, and mostly from the gratifying way of letting you find these things of your own volition. Searching for new places to fish and rest the night leads you to the antique collector, who asks you to find some questionable artifacts for him. Some of the character stories are really interesting, and some of them feel a bit stunted. A few ended up feeling very plain and didn't seem to go anywhere, though even some of the more interesting ones just seem to end without much resolution, though this is only a few of them. The biggest disappointment was in the way that the game could be brought to an end by prematurely doing something that didn't really feel like it was the end of the game, and left my playthrough feeling incomplete as a result. The overarching story depends on really what you want from the game, to fill out the fishing journals and the diary entries, to uncover the secrets of the island, to help the collector, to understand your past, and so on. However rewarding these are varies. The story is lacking in some places, but it was still intriguing in others, though your mileage may vary. Making the final score 3 out of 5 Harry Masons. Dredge was a really relaxing and thoroughly enjoyable game that captivated me from start to finish. Its fishing was simple yet rewarding, to the point that I'd enjoy it even if it didn't have the associated cosmic horrors that came along with it. But luckily for us, it did. Again, I'd like to remind you the whole thing is down to my opinion in horror games. If you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I always got my haul, I didn't give in to the collector and advise you don't either. There will be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. And always go check out Bumps in the Middle of the Night. Peace.